This is Mr. Hill Goddess with Luna Sage. Hey guys, thank you for coming to listen this week. I will be discussing the grief journey a little and how it has been for me personally. We have all lost someone and we have all gone through the stages of grief differently. It is a very sensitive subject, but I intend to be transparent on my podcast episodes and discuss everything. If you've listened to my previous episodes, you know that grief is something that I'm very familiar with. My father being killed was not the first loss I've had to navigate. I also lost my grandma in 2009, and she was like a mom to me. We were very close. I think of her as a soulmate. I have experienced multiple losses aside from those. I lost my baby boy, who was born prematurely in 2018, and my fur friend Tuco, my little doggy, 2 weeks after my dad was killed. These losses have been the biggest for me and have had the most impact on me. When we think about grief, we think about death, but I have experienced grief in many ways other than death as well. My first really impactful grief that I remember was when I was 9 and my dad moved to Oregon. It was extremely painful for me, and it was something that really was hard for me to process throughout the years. I have held on to that grief for all of these years. There is no right or wrong way to handle grief, but for me personally, after many years of looking within myself and conscious awareness, I finally let myself just cry. Your body remembers and it holds on to emotions, and for many years, my body was in so much pain. My nervous system was shot, and even the slightest touch was sometimes really painful. I've had a lot of issues with my joints. Just moving around in general was something really, really tough for me, holding on to everything that had happened in my life. It manifested into autoimmune disease within myself, which is something I will talk about in a later episode, how our emotions can make us sick. But it literally made me sick. I held on to all of it, and I did not let it flow out of myself in the one way we are designed to, crying. I'm sure some of you can relate, but when I would start crying, the pain was so heavy that I would try to turn it off and stop the tears. I didn't know how to feel through it. I only knew that I didn't want to feel such great pain. I felt like if I continued crying, I would never stop. One of the hardest things is feeling through that pain. The only way through, though, is through. So now I bawl my eyes out and I do it until I'm done. And then I know that that energy and that grief has passed through my body to some extent. I'm not sure that I have ever stopped grieving. I believe I've been grieving my entire life. The one difference now is that I recognize it and I feel through it. Grief counseling is definitely helpful, but on a spiritual, energetic level, there are other ways we can also process grief. Meditation. And I don't mean sitting there and fighting against thoughts and trying to make your brain shut up. I mean sitting there and letting it all flow through you. When you're fighting it, you're not allowing what wants to be just be. I focus on a mantra in my mind, and if a thought comes to my mind, that is energy, and that is energy coming up for release. Let it. The nervous system will release these energies, and they will come up as thoughts. There is a type of meditation that I learned while studying meditation techniques It's called Transcendental Meditation. It has been extremely helpful for me. I will also be dedicating an episode to different styles of meditation in the future, including transcendental meditation. So I will talk about that more. Anyway, meditation can be done in many ways, but I found that this has helped me the most because other styles I was taught wanted me to stop all of my thoughts, and that always felt like a battle to me. This style allows me to wander off wherever my mind takes me so that I can release those energies and then find my way back to center when I realize that I've strayed far from my mantra. The point is not to force anything, even the mantra. When you're forcing, you are creating more buildup, more friction. A lot of people try meditation and they say, oh, I can't meditate. I can't do it. And it's often because they were only taught that, oh, you need to, get rid of your thoughts, just still your mind. It doesn't work that way for everybody. And that's what I had to learn. Stretching is another really great way to move grief from the body. Dancing, movement in general, is amazing for moving grief through your body, moving energy through your body. Dancing is my ultimate favorite tool for grief. When I don't feel like it, I make myself. It doesn't have to be upbeat either. I just get up. Sometimes I put on something slow or something sad. Yeah, it helps me process. And I move my body however it needs to. It doesn't have to look good. It just needs to move. I shake my hands out, move my hips, put my ankles in circles, whatever I need to do. But it is incredibly good for moving energy through you, especially moving your hips. We store so much energy in our hips. And just flow. Another thing that really helps is water. Lots of water. Water is an incredible source for moving energy through the body. I like to say to myself as I drink water, water cleanses. So I'm also setting intention before I drink. And I do that as often as possible. I really love journaling. I really love it. It's always been really helpful for me. I always wanted to be a writer. Podcasting. So that has helped me through some days. Again, the only way through is through. Write anything and everything that comes to your mind. The dark, negative thoughts need to come out as well. Suppressing them will not help us to heal. It will only keep it within us longer. I used to be a very negative thinker, and intrusive thoughts often won. When I first started going through my spiritual awakening, I was misled into thinking that I needed to only think positive. Everything needed to be sunshine and rainbows. Bull. We are not in balance when we only allow ourselves to think positively. We do, however, especially those of us who have a tendency to sway towards the negative side, have to be aware that we are not getting out of balance there. We can't let it take over, that negativity, but we do have to allow it to escape our bodies. How we handle the negative thoughts is what matters most. So I learned that both negative and positive are beneficial. We have both for a reason, and we have to process both. If we're not processing both, then we're not processing thoroughly. The biggest thing I've learned over the years is that grief is not linear. If you've ever been to grief counseling, read about grief, etc., you know that they say there are 5 stages of grieving: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. You do experience them all, and if you haven't, you have suppressed grief. you are certainly holding it within your body. We go through all of these differently, and there is really no telling which one you'll experience in what order or for how long. It personally has been all over the place for me and different with each loss. One stage of grief that I can say I've experienced the most has been depression, and I stayed in that stage for many years. It became very real for me again when my dad was killed, and I knew that, like many of you, I did not have the luxury of staying there. Of course, I have days where I don't want to get up out of bed, where I want to curl into a ball, where I just suddenly start bawling my eyes out, and some days I am able to just cry it out. And many others, I have to compartmentalize and I have to keep pushing because I have bills to pay. I have a house to keep up. I have to keep taking care of my health. I have a partner to think about, kids to think about. The list goes on. But the only reason that I am strong enough to keep going now is because I have experienced so many traumas and so many losses. And I have battled myself. And now I do the things that I talked about. And most days they help me. Some days are extra hard to get through. And on those days, I remind myself that I really need to do those things that help me and provide me even a little bit of comfort. The reason I am still here and still living and healing, experiencing, is because I have almost lost my battle with life and mainly myself, and my world and my life has fallen apart many times, and I have just kept learning and fighting and feeling my way through. Now, even with my father's murder being the most recent loss, it just happened in October this past year, my body's not in so much pain because I utilize these tools. I have had to force myself to, and it definitely takes a certain level of awareness, and it does take a long time. It's not something that just happens overnight. But I never would have been able to get through and keep up with home life, work, school, this podcast, and more. I never in a million years would have thought, as version 1 of myself, that I would be where I am now after losing him that way. And after everything that has happened. I mean, there's been a lot. And some days I really wonder, how am I still here? I've made a lot of bad decisions in life too, and I've really put my body through some things. So just the fact that I'm still here is pretty crazy. And I know that there are a lot of you that can relate. So scream, cry, write, dance, do whatever you need to do to process grief. But whatever you do, remember that the only way through it is through it. There's so much more I want to talk about right now, but for now I will go, and next week I'll discuss more of this topic. I would love to hear from you. What helps you through grief? What do you do on your hardest days that helps you get through? Thank you again for listening. Please give my podcast a share. I would be so grateful. Peace and much love.